Welcome back to the Gaelic Games Fan TV. It's the morning after, the day before. Tipperary are All-Ireland champions after beating Cork 327 to 118. The hurling world is still in shock, still in surprise. I think we all still can't believe what we just witnessed. Yesterday, I'm joined by Liam White from the Faithful podcast to run through this game and break it down in more detail. We will touch on the two games and ladies football a little bit later on towards the end of the show, but yeah, an absolutely incredible game yesterday. Still can't get over it. Still can't believe it. I think most people can't as well. And judging by some of the comments here, a lot of people can't describe it as well. We couldn't, unfortunately, get Matthew on the show. I think he did say he had something else on, but yeah, I think it's probably all a bit raw and a bit too much to process for Cork supporters at this moment in time. But Liam, as a neutral, as an Offaly man watching that game, I mean, like how do you even describe what actually happened in that second half?
Car crash in the second half. I think first of all, thanks for having me back on. Really appreciate it. I couldn't believe what I was watching in the second half. You and I were just saying it there before we went on air. It was like watching AI or something, or we were making it up in our own heads. It was just incredible. Like, look, Cork went into the final as big favourites. Now nobody was begrudging Tipperary, and nobody would have begrudged if Tipperary had won the game in the end. But I think a lot of people, nobody saw it being a hammering, of that proportion, and especially the way that it transpired in the second half was manic. And the reaction, the fallout from it has been remarkable, it has to be said.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely bizarre. And just run through some comments here. The G-Man says here, Pat Ryan has to go. Peter says, evening lads, what do you make of the Cork call to cancel the homecoming event? In my opinion, it's poor form. They have some legion of followers who have travelled the roads all year. It is very costly. Yeah, very, very surprising. And it's just, like, I mean, we will get, like, obviously I do want to focus more so on Tipperary, and we will get onto that. Like, there's two sides to every story, of course, but geez, for Cork, like, when it rains, it pours. Like, to have had the day that they had yesterday, for things to have gone as bad as they have, like, whatever you say, about Cork and whether you don't like Cork, one thing you have to admit is they have some of the best supporters in the country. Like, I mean, 90% of Croke Park, I think 80% of it looked like it was Cork supporters there. You could even feel it in Croke Park towards the end of the game. So I think for the Cork County Board to have done that, I get, look, the players probably don't want to have a homecoming after that. You completely understand that. The manager probably didn't want to. There's probably a lot of fans that wouldn't want it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, probably be hard to show up, but at the same time, you should still do something at least after. Look, let's not forget, like, Cork did win a Munster title this year. They did win a league. They still have made progress. It's obviously very, very hard hitting after, after how it ended up, but yeah, to cancel it was a little bit surprising there.
Yeah, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of cancelling it, to be honest with you. Like, look, I can understand, like you said, the players and maybe even the management might not want to be showing up, and they might not want to be showing their faces, which is understandable given the second half performance. I suppose the expectation, the large majority of people at the match that were Cork supporters, because even watching it on the TV, it looked like it was the large majority Cork people there. But like you said there, they've won the National League, they've won the Munster title, they stopped the 7 in a row, they've gotten back to an All-Ireland final. Like, they were 6 points up at half-time. Only for a bad second half, they could easily be All-Ireland champions today. They were All-Ireland finalists last year. Like, they've had a terrific 12 months. So I think to just cancel it and just say, we're not going to have a homecoming, and recognise the efforts this year, and even in a way maybe the supporters as well have travelled everywhere this year to support them, I think is probably not the right decision. Now look, the players and the management, ultimately they are still the most important ones at the end of the day, and I feel like the manager will back the players in what decisions they want to make. But I just think, given that they still have, in my opinion, they still had a good year, it just fell short at the end. Like, at the end of the day, they'll still go down as the second best team in the country, which I know for Cork is no consolation. They want to be the best, but like, considering where they were over the last couple of years, to be in that position now, I think they'd have taken it a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, no, I think cancelling it wasn't the best idea. But look, I suppose ourselves, we don't know what's what's going on inside there. We don't know how maybe gloom and doom it is in the dressing room, how it is on the bus back, how the players are truly feeling. But for me, I think they should have done something, like you said, to recognise. I hope they do, because at the end of the day, they've still had a good season, in my opinion. I don't think it'd be right to just not recognise the efforts that have gone in the last 8, 9, 10 months.
Yeah, Peter says even in 2010 when Tipperary beat Kilkenny, going for the 5 in a row, they attended their homecoming. Good example and practice for the younger supporters is paramount. And Phil says here, no homecoming for Cork. Can't remember the last time that that happened. Yeah, and very, very surprising there. But looking in terms of the game itself, as we were saying, it finished 3-27. Cork won 18. Like maybe kind of running through the first half and everything else. And I suppose like a lot was made kind of in the build up to the game in regards to how Tipperary were going to approach it. Like some were saying, are Tipperary going to go man to man? Are they going to play a sweeper? How are they going to cut off the supply chain of goals that Cork are so renowned for and so brilliant at? And a lot of people were saying it was going to be a very comfortable day for Cork. So like looking at how the game started and the kind of early exchanges, what did you make of it? And did you expect the game to kind of go how it did in that kind of first half?
Well, I mean, given the start that Cork had, I mean, Diarmuid Healy had the ball over the bar after 8, 9, 10 seconds. I thought it's the most ideal start for them. Start quick, get the first score on the board, and go from there. And then, Tipp were keeping themselves in the game, but then I think Cork at one stage were 11-7 up, and maybe 12-8 up or something like that. And like at that point, I was thinking they're going to probably kick on from here. But then at the same time, when you kind of look back now on the first half, you can really, in my opinion, only point to 4 players, maybe at a stretch, maybe Hoggy, who did some nice things to a degree. But really, for me, apart from Darragh Fitzgibbon, who again, even himself had 1 or 2 blunders, that he made a big mistake for the first point from Jake Morris, trying to play the ball out from the back and getting blocked down. But like, I just think, apart from that, himself, Shane Barrett, Diarmuid Healy, and I thought Rob Downey had a very good first half as well. I thought he actually was solid at centre back, to be honest with you. Apart from those 4, nobody else on the Cork team was really standing out. Like there was the big, Shane said it in the group chat that we have, and I agreed with him saying that Owen Downey has a red card written all over him, and I agreed, because he was getting tormented by John McGrath, that full forward line. Darren McCarthy was destroying them, so it felt like one high ball in again, and it could be curtains for him, and that's what it turned out to be. Their full back line was, I just thought it still looked a bit shaky in the first half. I don't feel like they got enough out of Kieran Joyce or Mark Coleman on the wings. I feel like Tim O'Mahony didn't look himself. Decky Dalton just froze completely, kind of like last year's final. He's performed in nearly every other game over the last 2-3 years, apart from the finals, really. It's probably just a mental blockade for him, to be honest with you. And then you have the full forward line. I expected so much more from Brian Hayes, from Alan Connolly, even Hoggy himself. He had a few nice moments, got one great score, got a great touch, laid it off to Diarmuid Healy then a few minutes before that. But yeah, I just wasn't impressed by, in a way, when you look back now, at half time when Shane Barrett got that goal, I thought, right, that is the killer blow that Cork needed now. They're going to go out in the second half. They're going to probably not bury Tipp, but they're going to kick on from here, and Tipp are going to find it hard. And if anything, it seemed to down Cork, and it absolutely bolstered Tipperary. And especially, I think what probably didn't help was Hoggy going in and trying to fight Rhys Shelley, and then Decky Dalton was fighting. Who was he fighting in the dugout? I can't remember off the top of my head. He got the bottle thrown at him as well. But yeah, just stuff like that. Just need the stuff like that, which, like, you need to be controlling your emotions going into halftime, especially when you get a big score, to put yourself 6 points in front. And yeah, just in the second half, I mean, I don't know about you, but scoring 2 points in the second half of an All-Ireland final, especially in hurling, I mean, you remember watching the Donegal Dublin game in 2011 when it was 4-2 at half time, But like, you were thinking, right, that's football. You can maybe understand it to a bit more of a degree. You can't kick a football. Well, most people can't kick a football 70 yards over the bar, or there's not as many scores in football as there would be in an average hurling game. 2 points in a half of hurling, especially with the attack and the players that Cork have. Now, look, they hit the bar, they hit the post a few times and whatever, but I still can't believe they only scored 2 points in the second half. It's absolutely staggering. And then when you compare that to Tipperary, their tenacity, their firepower, their, like, Darren McCarthy, that's the best I've seen him play all season in in the senior championship anyway. You know, he had a few good games in under 20, but that was the real big moment game for him. You know, and to hit 113 before the age of 20 in an All-Ireland final is serious going. You have Brian O'Mara there, who I thought during the week, could you even push someone like Ronan Maher maybe out to wing back to stop the threat of maybe a Decky Dalton or something like that, and you could push Brian O'Mara to centre back. And he was doing the sweeping job expertly. And then you have Ronan Maher, who just had, I mean, he just dictated the game so well. Like, Tipperary had man of the match contenders all over the pitch. You wouldn't have begrudged it if you'd picked John McGrath, if you'd picked Darren McCarthy, Jake Morris, Owen Connolly, Brian O'Mara, just any one of them, Rhys Shelley even, you know, saved the penalty, got a point from play. You know, any one of them would have been, you know, fairly fitting of being man of the match in the final. You know, they were just unstoppable. Sam O'Farrell is so talented as well. You know, but yeah, just everything that could have gone wrong for Cork in the second half went wrong, and everything that could have gone right for Tipp went right. And a big credit to that has to go down to the management of Liam Cahill and his backroom team as well.
Yeah, like it was 3-14 to 2 points in the second half. That's what Tipperary outscored Cork. Like, you wouldn't, like, not to sound disrespectful, but if Tipperary were playing a Christy Ring Cup team or a Laurie Marr Cup team, I don't even know if you'd get a score line like that, to be honest with you. Do you know, like that's how, like, devastating it was. And also as well, like, it was the first time since 1887 that a team has scored less than 2 points in a half in an All-Ireland final, which again is another absolutely mental statistic. And you would have got some odds on back in Cork to score just the 2 points in the second half at half time. But I think people might have been questioning your sanity, or if you're all there, if you're going and actually doing that. But yeah, no, I thought, like, especially in the first half, it was interesting. Like, it was 6 points at half time. And you were thinking, geez, like, if Tipperary missed their chance a little bit here, because, like, I thought they were doing everything right. They were winning them battles. You know, Cork were playing a lot of loose balls that Brian O'Mara was gobbling up. Ronan Maher was gobbling up a lot of ball. Robert Doyle was doing very well as well. You know, Rhys Shelley was excellent on puck outs. And you thought Tipperary were doing everything perfect. Cork's accuracy was very, very good in the first half. That kind of kept them ticking along in terms of their chances. Tipperary were missing big opportunities as well. Jake Morris was putting chances wide. They just missing chances that you'd normally see them score. And then you have that goal at half time. It's the first goal chance. Now, Tipperary have done some amount of work in keeping out goal chances. Cork get one clear goal chance, and Shane Barrett just absolutely buries it. Who was brilliant as well in the first half. And like what you were thinking there, you're thinking, geez, Cork probably haven't been at their best here. Tipperary have done well. But you were thinking, right, Cork have got the goal, a bit of needle at half time. Like, maybe that will kind of rise them up a little bit, and they'll come out. They have that early free from Patrick Horgan, and you're thinking, right, they're going to go 7 up here and probably start to pull away in the third quarter. But no, the complete opposite happens. And yeah, just remarkable.
Yeah, I think Hoggy missing that free now was a big moment in a way, because you just wouldn't expect it from him, you know, to be missing a free from that sort of angle. And yeah, even the big moment as well just before that, the goal that was disallowed for Jason Bourne. I agree that it should have been disallowed. I think he was just in the square when the ball was played in, or when he got the touch to it. That's another thing as well. I think Patrick Collins as well. Pat Collins just had a very tough day in goal. He just didn't command his box. He didn't command his area very well. You think at the third goal that went in, that goal from Ford, which was disallowed. You know, I don't know. And the first goal, I mean, look, it's easy to say in hindsight, but even at the time when Morris took that shot, I just thought, let it over the bar. Don't try and bat it down, because then someone could just run in, or you're putting your back line under pressure just immediately. And I mean, the coolness and the calmness that John McGrath showed was unbelievable, you know. We just have to take a moment. He's had an unbelievable season for Tipperary. 2 goals yesterday. It was 2 goals against Limerick. I think he got a goal against Clare as well. Like, you know, he's got a great goal, got a cracking goal against Kilkenny in the semi-final. You know, he's been unbelievable. He could definitely be in for shout for Hurler of the Year, in my opinion. He's been a terrific force in there this season, and it's good to see him back to his absolute best. Great to see Noel McGrath getting another All-Ireland as well. You know, he's a player who deserves it after all the years he's given. You know, it's 4 All-Irelands now for him, and it was quite fitting after getting cancer, was it 10, 11 years ago, to then get the final score of the game was, you know, it was a very nice touching moment in my opinion. But yeah, no, just there was just no real spark from Cork kind of in the second half. You know, there was no, there were, even in the first half at times, they were playing balls into Brian O'Mara or into the sweeper, into the spare man. Even Mike Breen at times was picking up loose balls as well. Like, just, I don't know, there was just a bit of a flatness to them, and I don't really understand why. And I mean, like you said there, Shane Barrett was someone who played in the first half like someone who deserved to win an All-Ireland title. You know, Diarmaid Healy was playing well, and Fitzgibbon was doing, you know, he was doing all right, to be fair to him as well. But just kind of after that, like, there was nothing really kind of sticking in the full forward line. And then the second half, I mean, Jesus, it was a complete and utter collapse. And especially when Tipp, like, I was thinking to myself, right, Tipp have got they got 5 points in a row, and then they got the goal, and they were 2 points in front after being six down. And but then Barrett that got the point then to make it a 1 point game. And I thought, right, this is right. Tipp have had their purple patch. Cork are going to come back now. They're going to have their purple patch. They're going to bring the game back a small bit. And then Seamus Harnedy missed a shot then a second later. And then Tipp just kept piling on scores. And I just thought, this is purple patch is going on a bit too long here. You know, it doesn't feel like a purple patch anymore. And then, Jesus, as soon as Owen Downey brought down John McGrath, which in a way he couldn't really do much else. But the moment he brought him down, and McCarthy stuck that penalty, which was an excellent penalty as well, it has to be said. I just knew straight away. I said to myself, and even I was down in Cork watching the match, and people beside me were saying, "That's it, that's game done." Just because they'd seen they'd seen the script before, they'd seen Cork lose these sort of games before, and yeah, they didn't have the kind of mental capacity to get themselves back into the game. It was almost like there was a blockade in front of them. You know, they couldn't knock down that wall to get themselves through Tipp. And I mean, credit has to go to Tipp massively as well, because the pressure they were putting on Cork, the tenacity, the movement of them, just everything about them was so enjoyable to watch. And it was just a complete performance in every aspect of the game. And yeah, Cork just simply had no answer. Their subs had no answer. You know, they were taking the likes of Horgan off, and Diarmaid Healy was brought off, you know, and at that point then you just thought, right, that's that. They've said this is game over. And I don't know about you, but I just had a feeling Conor Lehane was not going to score that penalty. You know, just when everything's going wrong for you, everything's going against you, and yeah, he didn't slot it anyway. And but yeah, no, Tipp were just simply awesome. Like, as much as Cork, there's always two sides to every game. It's never just about, you know, one team being poor. There's always two sides to it, you know. And although it was a shocking second half performance from Cork, and maybe even over 70 minutes, not a great performance from Cork, it was an unbelievable performance from Tipperary. They got everything spot on. They got their matchups right, and ultimately, at the end of the day, Cork could have no complaints.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was absolutely mental kind of watching it all unfold. Peter says Shamie Flanagan on BBC said worst thing that happened to Cork was hammering Dublin so much. And yeah, interesting enough, like, I was watching on BBC as well, and to be fair to Shamie Flanagan, like, there was a part of me nearly that thought there was a bit of Limerick, Cork and Needle. Like, he was very confident actually at halftime that Tipperary would come back and win it. You know, and at the time I was kind of thinking, you know, where's that kind of confidence coming from? But he absolutely did call it. Peter says Cork were like the favourite prized racehorse who completely lost the head and bolted off the course. Players win finals, managers lose them here as well. And Jack says Cahill done a great job with Tipperary. Yeah, absolutely has. And you know what? Like, Liam Cahill probably isn't getting the praise that he deserves. I think the praise has come his way probably over the last 24 hours, a lot more so. But like, I think when you look at Liam Cahill and what he has done, like, this is a man who's won an All-Ireland as a manager of the minors, the under-20s, the under-21s, the seniors. Like, fair enough, when he was at Waterford, I think people remember that things tailed off towards the end of Waterford. But let's not forget, he got to Waterford to, you know, an All-Ireland final. I think maybe one All-Ireland final, definitely. Got them to a couple of semi-finals, a couple of Munster finals, won the league with them as well. And we've saw Waterford struggle to get out of Munster really since then. So, like, he's an incredible manager, and tactically as well, he got it absolutely spot on in terms of matchups, as you were saying. And also as well, like, floating ball on top of Owen Downey and Pat Collins worked an absolute treat, because that was where all the goals came from, really.
Yeah, and Cork's full back line has been something that I've been worried about all season, and it was like if I was able to see it, then Liam Cahill and his backroom team were absolutely going to notice that. You know, it was like Cork's full back line all year. Like when you do kind of sort of break it down, like they conceded what was the final score against Clare? Was it 321 to 224? They conceded 312 in the second half of that game. They conceded, was it 326 to Limerick? Still conceded a goal and 22 points to Limerick in the Munster final, and then 130 in for after extra time. They conceded 122 against Waterford. Like they were still shipping a lot of big scores, and even against Dublin, they conceded 221. You know, Dublin got 2 goals. Now, look, Keane O'Sullivan's first goal was an unbelievable strike, and then the second goal was, you know, it just trickled through a load of bodies, and you know, still a good strike. But still, yeah, I still feel like I said it last year as well, that Cork's full back line worried me, because like you look at last year, even they conceded 225 against Waterford, they conceded 3 goals against Clare, 3 goals against Offaly in the preliminaries. They conceded 3 goals against Clare in the All-Ireland final, you know, and I just don't think they've kind of fixed that since, and that is probably a small bit of a worry going into next season, because you think if Limerick were to come back, if Kilkenny were to come back, like this could have a big scarring on Cork now next year. Now it could rejuvenise them again, it could revitalise them again, and it could make them think, right, we can't ever let this happen again, or at least we can't allow ourselves to lose an All-Ireland final like that ever again. If you're going to lose it, you're going to lose it with a bit of dignity like we did last year. But you just worry, and you do think, right, how many more of these players will stay on? You know, how much longer will Hoggy stay on? How much longer will Seamus Harnedy stay on? You know, will other players just decide, you know, we've had enough as well? It'd be interesting to see, will Pat Ryan stay on? Personally, I think he should. I don't think Cork should be getting rid of him anytime soon. I think, considering where they were 3 years ago, where he's taken them since, I think he deserves minimum at least another year after winning a Munster title and getting them back to an All-Ireland final. But yeah, no, having the Dublin semi-final probably, in a way, maybe didn't help. But at the same time, they can't be using that as an excuse, because Dublin, I thought in the first half at least, Dublin still put up some bit of a decent battle, in my opinion, up until maybe the fourth goal, maybe, you know. Like Dublin still put up some bit of a battle to them, and Dublin in a way probably still exposed some frailty still in the Cork defence as well, that people sort of had to be wary of. And look, Pat Ryan said it after watching the Tipp and Kilkenny game. He said they have to be wary of Tipp now, because like they scored 4 goals in an All-Ireland semi-final. At the end of the day, they're going to be absolutely no pushovers, and he was right. You know, only this time they got 327 instead. So, you know, I think like the signs in a way probably were there. You know, some of us, and I include myself, maybe just didn't say it enough. I just thought, surely now, after the season they've had, even after the way that they've sort of played in some of their games and how they've gotten through some of the games, like getting over Limerick the few times they have over the last year, winning a Munster title, like winning a championship and even winning the league as a collective group. It's not like, say, having the likes of Horgan or Mark Coleman there, or I think it was Tim O'Mahony there in 2018 when they all won Munster titles. You know, they've all now won Munster titles as a collective group. You're thinking they've gotten over, you know, they've won something major as a group. So now they can surely use that to fuel themselves and get themselves over the line in the biggest game of all. And it just never happened for them at all. But yeah, to say I was shocked would be an absolute understatement. But I think if you were to compare Cork to anybody, and I take no pleasure in saying this, I think you got to compare them to Arsenal. They're always second, and I take no pleasure in saying that.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Mayo there, but Arsenal's just as good, to be fair.
Well, the only thing with Mayo is that at least Mayo, bar maybe the Tyrone final in 21, they were never blown away by Dublin. Now they were blown by Dublin in semi-finals, or blown away by Dublin in quarterfinals, but they were never blown away by Dublin in a final. It was always either a replay, or it was a 1-point game, or it was a Cillian O'Connor missed free, or it was a stupid red card that what's his name? I can't remember off the top of my head now. 2017 got that red card after him 1 year last. Yeah, you know, just
Robbie Henley, I think, or
was it, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, just something madness like that. Whereas this wasn't that from Cork. It was just a complete and utter capitulation of the highest order. So
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Like, I mean, and it was bizarre as well, because like like hitting the post 4 times as well. Like I've never seen like collectively so much go wrong for such a good team in one half. Like you were thinking, she's like hitting the bar, hitting the post, like on 3 occasions, missing the penalty. Like getting a man sent off as well. Like, I mean, like the mistakes that they were making as well, like just pure like like implosion, like something we've never seen before. Like, and I was saying it was the biggest collapse in All Ireland final history. And I know people maybe look at Offaly Limerick 94 and Limerick sort of collapsed towards the end there, but like Limerick had a big lead. It was a little bit different. There was a shorter kind of time period, like over the whole course of a half. I'm not too sure of, like, fair enough, it was only a 6-point lead, but it was a 6-point lead that got turned into a 15-point loss. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're talking about a 21-point swing. Just absolutely mental there. Peter says the mass hype and hysteria surely burst in through the Cork bubble. Be kind of hard not to be affected by that. Phil was saying Donald Vaughan, the red card in 2017. Yeah, that was correct, actually.
Yeah, that was the
but yeah, like, I mean, like Cork in general, like in that second half, like it's hard to know really, like if the pressure did get on top of them. Like I was always saying, the pressure wasn't really getting to them too much, because like you saw how well they were able to dispatch teams. Even in the first half, they were able to hold their own as well. But it did seem like in that second half, whether it was pressure or whether it was maybe collectively thinking that the job was done at halftime, I definitely think they panicked big time as well. Like, they were going for goals when there was still about 15, 20 minutes left. They were, fair enough, they were a man down. They were 8 or 9 down at that stage. But just keep the scoreboard ticking, like put a couple of points over the bar. I think Pat Ryan definitely should stay as well. I don't agree with the narrative that he should go after the job he's done. But I do think some of the substitutions as well were probably a little bit questionable, like taking German Healy off, like taking Patrick Horgan off. He'd gone a bit quiet. Like, I don't think Shamie Harnedy looked right when he came on as well. So a lot of question marks there.
I suppose maybe bringing Shamie Harnedy on, I could kind of understand that, because even though he wasn't even scheduled to play the match or be involved in any way, you're thinking, right, he's experienced ahead on him, and when he has even made substitute appearances this year, he's done generally well. And the other thing is, I don't even think he did that bad. I certainly think he did somewhat better than some of the lads out on the pitch. Like, he had a chance for goal, he got a good score. He was at least trying a few things, unlike some other lads. But yeah, no, I think the substitutes, like the substitutes let down Cork last year, and a bit of different circumstances this year, obviously, because the game was just gone at that stage. But like, they certainly didn't help them this year, and that's something that, like, even reading stuff online over the last 24 hours, people suggesting should they maybe start looking at maybe bringing in the lads from under 20s. Like, I'm still shocked, as many probably people are, that the likes of Micheál Mullins hasn't got more championship games this year, or the likes of Jack Leahy, wasn't in the panel this year, which I was completely shocked by. Now, look, I know it's not going to be easy to get in past the likes of Horgan and Alan Connolly and Brian Hayes, and even your Shane Kingstons and your Conor Lahans are still there, and Harnedys are still there. But I've seen Jack Leahy a few times. I saw him a few times with McKilly there last year, with UL this year in the Fitzgibbon Cup. And I just thought, this guy is the real deal. He could score from any angle. He's quick, he's fast, and he's unpredictable. And to not even seen him in the Cork panel this year, I thought that could come back and bite him. He could have just even been a little spark that they might have needed, somewhat similar to a Darren McCarthy or an Oisin O'Donoghue, that they could have needed off the bench maybe late on, or just even throughout the game when things weren't going right, because things weren't going right in their full forward line at all. And that's not to mention their middle third as well. But yeah, no, it probably got to them a small bit. I mean, it's hard not to get to them in a way. It's 20 years since they've won an All Ireland, and it's not like, it's probably no different to maybe when Dublin were going through that spell of 16 years without an All Ireland. That one in 2011 was the biggest one they'd had in years. But they managed to find a way to get over the line, whereas Cork just haven't managed to do that here. And I literally thought that if Cork were to win yesterday, kind of much like Dublin, I know it took them a few more years because they won in 13 and 15 separately, and then they went on that run of 6 in a row. But I legit thought if Cork won yesterday, we'd be seeing, certainly until maybe 2031, Cork could have maybe 3 or 4 All-Irelands won. But now you're thinking, right, well, when is this All-Ireland going to come then? Do you know, if it didn't come yesterday, when is it going to come? Do you know? Because you're thinking, surely Limerick now won't be as bad next year as they were sort of after falling short this year. Tipperary now could build on this. Kilkenny will no doubt be hurting this year and they'll want to come back next year. You know, Dublin, as bad as the semi-final was, they still, I thought, had a decent season. And I mean, they knocked out Limerick. So there's obviously going to be a bit of momentum and a bit of spirit from that next year. And I think Niall O'Callaghan's a good manager, that he can bring in new reinforcements and get the best out of these lads as well. You know, you're thinking, well, Clare can't be as bad next year as they were this year, surely. So it's already making up for a very interesting 2026 campaign. But yeah, the pressure surely had to have gotten to them. It'd probably be in a way no different to like if you were about to win the league with Manchester United, you know, after so long, or sort of like Liverpool after 30 years, you know, or if Arsenal were in that space of 20 years, you know, after so long, and when you're a team that has such high expectations and has a rich history of winning, it probably can get to you a small bit. And it probably, I'd say at half time, whether they thought they had it won or not, I'm not sure, but certainly when you saw how they played in the second half, it wouldn't be far-fetched of an opinion anyway.
Yeah, they were just far too relaxed and leggy, maybe a bit of mental fatigue there as well. But yeah, like even like what you were saying, like going into Munster next year, I mean, Jesus, yeah, like it's going to be so competitive. Like you have the 3 All-Ireland winners from the last 3 years all in there. You have the reigning Munster champions. You know, Waterford as well, like are in there. You nearly feel sorry for Waterford to a certain extent. You know, like with how good some of the other teams are. But even like looking at Tipperary, like, and I was kind of making the point on Seamus's show last night, and even on my own channel a little bit as well. They do remind me a little bit of the 2018 Limerick team, in the sense of they have a few older players in there, a few older guard, a bit like what Limerick had at that stage as well. But there was like a core group of younger players who kind of just burst on the scene that year. The likes of Kyle Hayes, Aaron Gallan, these lads all, you know, Grode Hegarty, all kind of made the breakthrough around that kind of time period. Some of them would have played in 2017, but this was kind of the main year they broke through. And it seems somewhat similar with Tipperary when you're looking at Darren McCarthy, when you're looking at Sam O'Farrell, Oisin O'Donoghue as a man coming off the bench. Look, I'm not saying that Tipperary can reach them same heights that Limerick were able to set in the following years, but like Tipperary are in a fantastic position, like under 20 All-Ireland champions this year as well. Some more younger players to come through, like Gerard O'Connor couldn't even get into the squad this season as an example. So like there is a chance here that this is not, you know, Liam Cahill's a young manager as well. Like this race is far from ran, and we could be looking at a bit of a Tipperary era as such, maybe now potentially. Like winning back to back would be very difficult, but I think you wouldn't say you'd be surprised if Tipperary win a couple more All-Irelands before the end of the decade.
I certainly think between now and 2035, Tipp could certainly win 4 or 5 All-Irelands. I don't think there's any question about that, especially with those younger lads now, along with the older lads, all now have that experience of winning one. And sometimes all it takes is winning one, and you just know then the next time how to get over the line, unless, of course, you're coming up against a team who've also won a couple. So it's it's a battle between the two of them then. But yeah, look, do I see Tipp doing back-to-back? Maybe not. Look, it's hard to know now, obviously. We're out from that. But I certainly think that this won't be the last we see of them anyways. I certainly think we'll be seeing more of them over the next couple of years. I feel now after winning the All-Ireland, now their next aim will be to win a Munster title, because you think of it now, they haven't won a Munster since 2016. You know, Cork won 17 and 18, Limerick won 6 in a row, Cork won this year. So I think now they won 15 and 16 back to back. So I certainly think now winning the Munster Championship now next year will be an absolute huge target, or at least minimum getting back to the final. You know, they haven't been in the final for a couple of years, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind getting back to it, even to a degree. But yeah, no, Liam Cahill, I'm delighted for him, because I was never a fan, or I never liked this whole Liam Cahill syndrome thing. I was never a fan of it, to be honest with you. Like, look, he came into a tricky situation with Tipperary. You know, there was a lot of players that were still in there that probably maybe ran their course. It was a much more aging squad, but he's brought in the young players now. He's brought in a bit of youth. There's great credit has to go to all the the mentors and the coaches in Tipperary that have taken care of those younger players over the last number of years, from Tony Forrestal all the way up to minor to under 20. The likes of Brendan Cummins, who I think has done an unbelievable job as Tipperary under 20 manager as well. He's done a great job with them as well in nurturing them. And yeah, no, he's now morphed them into winning machines essentially now, and dominant winning machines when you look at that type of results. And they've taken down Cork, they've taken down Kilkenny, they've drawn with Limerick this year. They essentially knocked Clare out of the All-Ireland. They knocked Waterford in a way essentially out of the All-Ireland. I know Cork did it the following week, but in a way that was more of a killer blow to Waterford, I feel, than the Cork defeat. They've had a terrific season, and like you said, they won under 20 this year. They won the minor last year. They have some conveyor belt coming behind them at the moment, and yeah, it could be a Limerick type potential takeover. They could win 2-3 in a row. Maybe I don't see them doing a 5 in a row, but they could certainly do a 2 in a row or a 3 in a row over the next couple of years. It's not unrealistic at all. And yeah, I mean, sure, you look at some of the young players that they have, and some of the experienced players that they have in their squad. I mean, Ronan Maher's not going anywhere anytime soon. I like Brian O'Mara a lot as a player. I kind of first noticed him when he captained UL to the Fitzgibbon Cup there a couple of years ago, and I just thought, well, first of all, I thought, Jesus, he's big. He's absolutely humongous for his size. But yeah, no, I thought he was a real good, slick hurler. Owen Connolly Michael Dignan said yesterday, he'll probably be the most high-scoring fullback of all time at this rate. He's getting scores. Yeah. Nearly got a cracking goal yesterday as well. Robert Doyle's had an unbelievable season in that Tipp jersey as well. Craig Morgan, Sam O'Farrell, McCarthy, Oisin O'Donoghue, who's not even a starter in the team. And I completely have forgotten about Garrod O'Connor as well. Not in a bad way. Just I thought he'd have been a nailed-on starter to be in the Tipp team this season, and now I just completely forgot about him. But that's not to say he won't be there next. He could push on next year again, and try to get himself back into the team. So no, Tipp are in a real good place. I don't see Noel McGrath stopping either yet. He might think, what, there could be another All-Ireland or two in this squad yet. You never know. John McGrath is now back in the form of his life. I don't see Jason Ford stopping anytime soon either. So yeah, no, look, Tipp are in a real terrific position at the moment, and I think now their next game, probably a bit like Armagh maybe this year to a degree with the football, or maybe what Clare would have liked maybe in the hurling, try and win the provincial title now and then sort of build from there. But yeah, no, Liam Cahill deserves massive credit for what he's done. Like you said, he took Waterford to an All-Ireland final, took them to a semi-final, took them to a Munster final, and now he's won his native Tipp and All-Ireland senior title, which is unbelievable. And shout out as well to Declan Laffin on his management team. He's coach of my club now as well, and hopefully he'll be in a good mood for the next couple of weeks anyway when he's coaching us. But yeah, no, serious win for Tipp. They're just, yeah, I'm sort of terrified now thinking about what they could do over the next couple of years, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Darragh McCarthy as well. I mean, that was phenomenal performance. Like, I mean, the amount of pressure like he was carrying coming into the game, being sent off twice, obviously been taken off the freeze versus Kilkenny. Obviously one of the sendings off came against Cork, like only 19 as well, and I think what some people were saying about him as well as such a young player, I think was probably a little bit, out of line. And by God, he said it himself, silence the doubters. With 113, I can't remember a wide, maybe he did puck a wide at one stage, I'm not entirely sure, but a phenomenal performance, nailed the penalty as well. And you're talking about, because especially as well, some of those frees came in moments like in the first half when Tipperary were falling behind and things like that. You can't underestimate the impact of some of those frees that he scored, and the quality of some of them that he scored as well. Even in the second half. By God, they have a leader and they have a bit of a star there for the next few years.
Yeah, they do. No, he's when he's on form and when he's in the mood, he could terrorize any sort of defense. He's a real nice sort of strike about him. Not much back power behind him. It's just flick up and then all of a sudden it's gone straight away. He's a real nice striker of the ball. I never had any. I think it was the good thing, and it's a testament to him as well. I never had any real worry or fear about him missing frees either. You might even over the last couple of games, especially against Kilkenny, he wasn't sort of landing them, or he didn't look as confident. Here, he just looked the complete opposite. Now, he said it this morning on on off the ball. That he'd been given the fate by Liam Cahill to stick on the frees and remain on them, and that he's not been taken off them, which shows tremendous courage and tremendous faith from your manager. And when you get faith like that from a manager who you see as a mentor, then you're going to perform for him, and you're going to want to prove yourself as well. And like you mentioned there, the 2 red cards certainly didn't help him. And look, I still to a degree think that the one against Kilkenny, I mean, look, the first yellow card was warranted, but the second one I thought was maybe a bit harsh. I was at that match, and I had to ring my own father and say, what was he sent off for? I didn't even see it. I had no idea what he was gone for. And look, the first one against Cork, look, it was just a moment of madness. It was just rush of blows to the head. It just wasn't, the adrenaline was pumping, and he's still young as well. So. But no, I'm delighted that he's put all that to bed, because at the end of the day, he's a young lad, and he's still trying to learn. He's still trying to learn his trade, which is the scary thing. He's 19 and he's getting 113 in an All Ireland senior final, and he's a couple of Munster under 20 medals. He's an All Ireland under 20 medal now. He's an All Ireland minor medal. He's a Tipp legacy now that most people would probably kill for, and he's only 19, so you can imagine what he could do over the next couple of years. I don't think he'll win Young Hurler of the Year personally. I feel like that might go to maybe a Sam O'Farrell possibly, but I certainly, and especially maybe after the 2 red cards, he might not get him. I'm only just saying from the GA's perspective, but yeah, no, he's a serious operator, and look, he'll only get better as the years goes on as well. Once he keeps his head down, and he's doing good work with Tumivara as well in the club championship as well. So. Yeah, no, they've got a serious player on their hands, and I look forward to seeing more of him over the next couple of years, apart from when he plays against us.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And maybe the last thing on the game, Cork, do they come back from this? Because 3 All-Ireland final defeats now in in the space of 5 years, back-to-back All-Ireland final defeats, both uniquely heartbreaking. Like last year's one, beaten by a dog's breath, really. Very, very close. Did absolutely everything they could. Left it all on the table. You couldn't fault them. This year, playing some of the best hurling we've ever seen, winning a Munster championship, and then falling apart at the final hurdle like we've never seen before. So, can they actually come back from this? Do you think
they can? Sound like McCarthy saying that. But no, they absolutely can. There's no reason to suggest that they can't. Like you said, they have the terrific players, and they have a fantastic squad, in my opinion. I think if anything, they probably have players in their reserves that probably are better players than maybe even what they had on the bench yesterday, maybe to a degree. But no, they certainly can, and I still think Pat Ryan is a great manager, and I still think he can get the best out of his squad. Now, if he decided to walk away in the morning, then I'd say fair enough as well, and he would deserve a good send off as well, because he's considering where Cork were 3 years ago, getting knocked out very timidly in a quarter final to Galway in Thurles after missing about 100 chances, and then getting knocked out in the group stages in 2023, to now be upset and absolutely broken after losing 2 All-Ireland finals back to back in a year after winning the National League and the Munster title as well, is a testament to what he's done and the way he's galvanised this squad, and led the country to believe that they were favourites for the All-Ireland from the start of the year as well. I think he's done a terrific job in that. So yeah, look, they absolutely can come back. There's no reason to suggest that they can't. Look, it will be more tricky now maybe than last year. Losing 2 in a row, losing 1 in a row is tough, but losing 2 in a row can be extremely, extremely difficult to bounce yourself back and motivate yourself to go again and try and reach the promised land, because it seems so far away now after losing yesterday. But no, look, they're Munster champions at the end of the day, and when you break it down, it was one bad half of hurling, really from them, and it would be one that they'll want to forget fairly quickly. But no, look, they'll certainly be back next year. I wouldn't be sitting here right now anyways and starting to suggest that they'll fall off and they'll finish 4th in Munster next year, or they'll take Waterford's place that they've had over the last couple of years and finish 5th in Munster or into that, which it can happen, but that's just more down to the competitiveness of Munster more than anything. But yeah, no, look, I wouldn't be writing them off anytime soon yet. But obviously, after losing a second final in a row, and especially in a manner like this, trying to get themselves back up for it now again in November, December, January time will be extremely, extremely difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gavin says Dublin will improve, or someone else tougher might be in a semi-final against Cork. Cork mightn't get a direct semi either next year. Yeah, like that's the thing. I mean, you've got Clare who'll be back in the mix surely next year. Look, Tipperary will still be there. Limerick will still be there. Waterford will get better. Kilkenny will get better, maybe not actually. But you've got Galway who might get better. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens next year. We will release a video tomorrow looking at All Stars and everything else. But in terms of Hurler of the Year and Young Hurler of the Year, if you had to call it, who would be the first kind of players who would come to mind in your mind?
Well, if you'd said this to me by the end of the first half yesterday for Young Hurler of the Year, I'd have been saying Dermot Healy. Matthew thinks I'm in love with him and I have posters of him in my room. I don't, I swear. I just love watching him play. I think he's a terrific player. But I think now, after watching that game yesterday and witnessing how good he just is and how calm he is, I have to say Sam O'Farrell. I think he has to be the Young Hurler of the Year. I think he's been absolutely terrific all season for Tipperary. Very natural hurler, very gifted hurler. Makes the right decisions at the right times as well. He's not the most natural shooter of the ball, but he always gives the ball to the man in the right position. I think if McCarthy maybe didn't get those 2 red cards, I probably would maybe say him, especially off the back of that performance. But yeah, no, for Young Hurler of the Year, I'm probably going to say Sam O'Farrell. Or is Owen Connolly in? Can he win it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know like Adam English is a good shout as well. Like he had a very good season for Limerick. He was nearly someone I was kind of looking towards. I'm not too sure about Owen Connolly, but yeah, maybe the commenters can let us know.
Yeah, Adam, I'm a big fan of Adam English as well. I wouldn't be against him winning it either. To be fair, I know they got knocked out in the quarterfinals, but sure, we're also all the people there suggesting that Colin Mannion should get an All-Star, and rightfully so after the season he's had with Galway. So I think it just shows that even if you were getting knocked down in the quarterfinals, if you've still had an unbelievable year, which Adam English has had for Limerick, he's really made the midfield spot his own this year. Then yeah, no, I don't think him winning it would be a bad decision either, to be honest with you. For Hurler of the Year, yeah, that one's a bit more tricky. You've got a couple of options there anyway. Do you know what? Amazingly, by halftime yesterday, and you had called it, you'd said if there was a man in the match from Cork, it'd have been Shane Barrett. If the second half had gone much better for Cork, I'd have probably said maybe Shane Barrett would have won Hurler of the Year, or Darragh Fitzgibbon maybe. Do you know, one of those. But I think look, you're going to realistically, it's going to be a Tipperary player that will win it. The RT panel picked Jake Morris, which is fair. I don't think I'd begrudge that. I think he's had a terrific season. I've been a big fan of his for the last couple of years, and I'm delighted to see him now really take on the role of leader in that Tipp team, and the type of scores he's getting and the leadership he's shown in the half forward line. I think he's been an exceptional leader this year for Tipperary, so he's a big candidate. I think Owen Connolly has been unbelievable, a fullback this year. Ronan Maher could easily win Hurler of the Year as well. He's been a colossal at centre back for Tipperary this year. If I'm going to be honest, and it probably is far-fetched, I would give it to John McGrath. I just think after the year, after not maybe being at his best over the last couple of years, or at least to the expectations that we have of him, to score 2 goals against Limerick, to score a cracking goal in an All-Ireland semi-final, 2 goals in an All-Ireland final, win the penalty, he got a goal against Clare, I believe, as well. Like, I just think he's been such a good full forward for Tipp this year, and he's rejuvenized himself, and he looks so good this year. He looks back to his old self. And look, if any of the others win it, I'd be like, fair enough. But if it was up to me, I think just in terms of the growth that he's had this year as a leader in that Tipp team, I'd be giving it to John McGrath.
Yeah, Peter says Ronan Maher or Johnny McGrath. No, yeah, I agree with you as well. I'd go with John McGrath as well. Like, and even looking at some of the like the stats of what he's got this year. So yeah, like 2-2 in the final, 1-2 versus Kilkenny. He scored 2-3 versus Clare, so he got 2 goals in that game. And he got 2-1 versus Limerick as well. Do you know what I mean? So like you talk about like a big player stepping up in these big games, 3 points versus Galway, 3 versus Laois, 2 versus Waterford. So he's been absolutely outstanding, I think, John McGrath. Look, Ronan Maher is definitely in the conversation as well. I think Ronan Maher was unbelievable in the final. It might be a case of because of how good he was in the final and because it was so recent. But look, he was absolutely outstanding. Peter says Mannion for Galway has to be the 10 or 12. Yeah, Mannion for the amount of scores that he's racked up this year. I definitely think he has to be in the conversation as well. Moving across just to the ladies football then, in terms of some of the results there. So we'll start off with Kerry, who unfortunately got beat by Meath in the end, 1-9 to 2-12. So starting there, kind of rubbing the salt in the wounds a little bit. But look, you have to credit Meath football because after a turbulent couple of years, an incredible turnaround, and even with younger players coming in, you have to give them a huge amount of credit.
Yeah, I have to say the LGFA season has brought on such incredible drama this year, and we saw it again on Saturday afternoon in Tullamore. Wish I was only I was down in Cork for the weekend, I'd have gone into these games, because they were all Ireland semi-finals and they looked like two cracking games. I think it's fair to say Kerry must be sick of both O'Connor Park and facing Meath or O'Connor Park. The men and the women getting bet by them this year. But yeah, no, I have to say, it's a super result for me to take down Kerry, to take down the All Ireland champions is super result. And look, nothing against me, but I genuinely thought Kerry would have been too strong for everyone, to be honest with you. I thought Kerry were going to win the All Ireland, and especially when Armagh were knocked out by Kildare, which was mad in itself. I thought Waterford going out early to Galway was a big moment as well. Now, I rate Galway very highly, but I thought Waterford could have been a real dark horse this year, and I thought with those teams gone, Kerry surely now will make way for it. But look, credit to Meath. After losing the Leinster final in the way they did and everything like that, to come back now and to be back in an All Ireland final, in an All Leinster final as well, is nothing short of incredible. You look at Kerry Cole, the goal she got after 17 minutes to put them 3 in front. Kerry responded well to that. But yeah, Danielle O'Leary's goal at the start of the second half, again, sort of like Shane Barrett with Cork, that could have been the moment that changed the complexity of the game. It could have been the moment that changed everything. But then Sarah Wall's goal made the difference. And while there were only 2 points in it with a few minutes to go, I just think the way that Meath ended the game was fantastic. 4 scores on the bounce in the last couple of minutes from Shauna Ennis and Aoibhinn Cleary, and Emma Duggan, who's she's just a terrific player. She's been doing it for years. Her and Vicky Wall, I wouldn't want to mark the two of them, to be honest with you. I get absolutely roasted. They're just unbelievable footballers, the two of them. And yeah, to secure their place back in the decider, having another crack at Dublin in Croke Park, is a fantastic achievement for them. And taking down the Giants of ladies football over the last 12 months, real tough nut to crack. And look, Kerry be sick losing this, because it's kind of weird. I feel like maybe Kerry haven't performed to their best, maybe, but it'd probably be a bit harsh to say. But I even saw their game against Cork a few weeks back down in Porky Keeve, and they had a terrific second half, but their first half performance was fairly poor. They bet Waterford by 2 points in Munster. They probably weren't. And again, maybe having Kildare in the quarter final instead of an Armagh maybe didn't help them to a degree, maybe. But yeah, no, terrific win for Meath. I know you're probably not too happy to see. It was probably a lose-lose for you either way. You probably don't like either one of them, but yeah.
For me, it was more so like, Kerry could win the men's All Ireland, and then they could beat us in the ladies as well and win a bit of a double. So I was kind of happy to see Meath do it, to be honest with you. I do think we have a better chance against Meath than we would have against Kerry. But in saying that, Meath did beat us in the final a couple of years ago, and when they have usually gotten this far, they have gone on to win it. But yeah, the other game was Dublin 3-14, Galway 2-14, bit of a mad game. This one as well goes to extra time. I was actually at a 30th while this game was going on, so you're kind of keeping an eye on the score a little bit, and it was at one stage you thought we were going out. Then, all right, we got a couple of goals. We're looking comfortable. Then all of a sudden, Galway get a couple of goals back, and it was very nervy towards the end. But Dublin did the job in the end. They got over the line, and into the final we go.
Yeah, and I have to say, Carla Rose, the goal she got, the flick she got, was an absolute screamer. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It was kind of like when Shane Walsh got that point against Tipp, ironically in Tullamore as well. Do you remember the one in 2014? He just kind of flicked it onto his foot and just kicked it over. Yeah. Like, just scores like that you just don't see very often in Gaelic games. But when they happen, you just gotta admire them. But yeah, no, fair play to Dublin. To take down a Galway team like that, especially under the pressure they were during that game as well, is a fantastic win for them to be back in an All-Ireland final. And yeah, probably would favour them to beat Kerry more than, or to beat me than you would maybe with Kerry maybe, just given Kerry's experience and having won it last year. They would have gone for 2 in a row. But yeah, no, look, fantastic win for Dublin. They went about their business and they got the job done. Hannah Tyrrell scored 1-6. Carter Rose scored 1-2. Sullivan got a goal and a point. Heatherton got 2 points. So yeah, no, really, really solid performance from them. And equally for Galway, it's a shame to see the likes of Roisin Leonard going out now. She's a player that would deserve to play in an All-Ireland final. DeVilly as well, Trill, all these players, they're fantastic footballers as well. But look, I still think Galway, they'll be back. I still think they'll be back next year. And it just shows how close the Ladies Football Championship is, really, to be honest with you. You've Meath there, Kerry there, Dublin, Galway. I still think Waterford could have a say in the next year or two as well. So, and Kildare now after knocking out Armagh as well, which was, I just never expected that at all. So, but yeah, no, terrific win for Dublin. Should be a cracking final between them and Meath. Hard one to call. I would probably favour Dublin because they have beaten them already once this year, but it's difficult to beat the same team twice in 1 year. And like you said, when Meath do get to this stage, they tend to know how to get over the line. But yeah, should make for a cracking final.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter was saying here, lads, did you see the spat with Carla Rowe? And Dublin management looked really bad. She's a class player, but defo gets too stroppy. Yeah, like I was out, so I didn't actually get to see that kind of part, to be honest with you. I watched the highlights back, so maybe I'll have to go back and see what happened there. I did see she was taken off and then brought back on before that goal, so probably a little bit unusual for that to happen. But yeah, like without question, an incredible player and an incredible goal. So I don't know what was said, but whatever was said, maybe it worked. Brian says I came across the city this evening and it was awash with Tipp fans. Temple Bar is packed. The Palace Bar. And the famous Nikki English was there. Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't in the city myself today, but yeah, I'd say absolutely. Yeah, there's still plenty of Tipperary jerseys banded about. Oh, I'm sure there's still some Cork jerseys banded about as well, to be fair. But yeah, absolutely incredible time for Tipperary supporters. So yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Cheers to anyone who tuned in. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure to check out the Faithful podcast as well. Do you want to give that a bit of a plug, actually, as well, to be fair?
Don't waste your time. Yeah, look, I launched it a couple of weeks ago. It's looking at the Offaly Championship. I've had a couple of videos on there. Meant to do a preview for the weekend's football action, just never got around to doing it. But there will be a review out sometime tomorrow, preferably in the evening time after I finish work, reviewing the weekend's action. There was only the 2 games in the football championship in Offaly at the weekend. One was fairly one-sided affair. The other one saw Edenderry beating Road, who were the most successful club in the Offaly football championship. So yeah, no, I'll delve into those tomorrow, and there'll be a preview of the weekend's hurling action next couple of days, and I'll probably do even a quick word on the All-Ireland final myself as well. Might even preview the football final at the weekend as well, which hopefully I'll be able to try and get a ticket for it, because I'd love to be able to watch Clifford and Michael Murphy go at it for 70 minutes and see who's the bigger alpha male. But yeah, no, launched a couple of weeks ago. It's going good at the moment, and appreciate anyone who's supporting it so far.
100%. Yeah, definitely go and check that out if you can. And yeah, absolutely, we will be back 100% for the All-Ireland final during the week. And yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in.